Welcome to Uncommon Sense right here on SenseUA.com. I am Jay Howard along with Michael B. Wright Sr. Big brother Mo Brother. How you doing, big brother?
Fine, big brother Rock. How you living, my brother? How you living? How you living?
Oh man, I'm living large today, man, because we got a special guest with us. Happens to be the Honorable Judge Stephen N. Nice Jr. You know what I mean?
The only one, man. The only one is going to be a good day. Is going to be a good day.
A good day, brother. A good day.
Yes,
we
sir.
finally get to talk about some common sense all the way.
I know, right? And if anybody can bring common sense, it's going to be Judge. You hear me, Mike?
It's going to be Judge.
It's going to be
Stephen N. Nice Jr., man. Oh, wow, man. I'm just so excited, man, about this brother, man. And, you know, Judge, man, Judge has been doing things within the community. Judge has been, Judge has been doing some outstanding work, you know, from being a lawyer, now a judge, but even before that, he was a judge. I mean, you know, he was just destined to be in that seat.
Oh, definitely, man. And thank God he's there, Jay. I mean, thank God he's there. Because looking at what's going on, man, to have someone of Judge caliber, his integrity, man, his wisdom, you know, to have someone like that sitting on the bench, man, and then again has the color of our skin. It's a beautiful thing, bro. It's a beautiful thing. Yeah, so it's a wonderful thing. But like you said, man, Judge has been doing things in the community, man, and for the people way before he got into judgeship. And like you said, he was destined for it. But it's just good to see somebody who has always been on that trek, you know, not somebody who just arrived and started doing it, you know, but somebody who's always been on that trek, man, always been true to who he is. And now we're sitting in that chair and making a difference, man, for Henry County. So we thank God for Judge, man. That's all I can say, bro.
You know, like we say in the neighborhood, he's not new to this, but he's true to this.
That's right there, man. Man.
Honorable Judge Stephen N. Nice Jr. Right here on the Uncommon Sense podcast. How you doing, Judge?
Yes, sir. Good evening, gentlemen. How y'all doing?
Yes, sir. You're doing good, man. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing pretty good. So I'm a little under the weather somewhat, but I had to be here because folks didn't believe it was going to be live. It's live. It's through, regardless of how we feel. So I'm grateful and blessed to be here. So I want to thank you all again for the invitation.
Well, thank you so much, Judge, for being here for us, man. And it's a blessing to have you here. And it's also a blessing to call you friend, brother, because down through the years, you've been a friend to us. And we just want to thank you for being on the show with us today. Yes,
sir. So, you know, definitely appreciate you. And of course, we go all the way back years and years, close to a decade, if not longer than that. So, you know, I appreciate the introduction. You know, a lot of folks, as you mentioned, you know, may not know my background. And, you know, I've been in the community doing different things, uplifting and enhancing everyone for a very, very long time. And I had a conversation, and I know you know this, or you all know this, but your listeners don't. I had a conversation a while ago, you know, about the interacting with the police program that I started back in 2014 or 15, somewhere around there. And I was going around speaking to folks at community centers, at libraries, partnered up with various organizations, with the local library system and local police chiefs and different law enforcement agencies. And as you all know, being a professor of criminal justice since about 2008, I had various people who would speak as guest speakers that I would bring in, friends of mine who are law enforcement officers at various levels of law enforcement, from your supervisory on the federal level all the way to the local level, in state, out of state, different agencies and different family members and friends and associates who are in law enforcement. So I'm not going to name names, but I've been doing things like the interacting with the police program, interacting with law enforcement, teaching teenagers, parents, young people adults, anyone who would listen about how to interact with law enforcement because of my background of, knowing from being a law enforcement officer to going to a school where some of my friends became law enforcement officers, John Jay College of Criminal Justice, to some of my friends writing policy in law enforcement agencies, to being in the criminal justice system for as long as I can remember, from observations in various communities, from just life. So I know it's a long intro, but you said it. You said I've been doing things for a long time. I started the Interacting with the Police program and not taking any credit single-handedly, but after I started that, others started doing it, and then it became trendy or trending, and folks were starting to say, well, let's do, let's sit down and educate the community of how to interact with the police. And then here we are. So, these are things that I've touched on in the community and continue to touch on various levels, whether it's on the academic level, or whether it is, through ensuring that folks, their rights are upheld on both the state and on the defense side, if it's a criminal matter, and just continuing to, educate by my writings and just what I do on a day-to-day. So that's just to touch on what you mentioned. So I didn't mean to be long-winded there, but that's what you brought up.
We appreciate that, Judge, and that's a
Yes.
wonderful segue, Judge, into asking you your journey to the bench. I know there was some highs and lows, some peaks and valleys. Give us some ideas for us. What was your journey to the bench? Which things that kind of caught your eye, that kind of dragged you, and then what actually led to your appointment by Governor Kemp, down to the bench, sir.
All right. So I appreciate you. It's good to see you. I think the last time I see you was pre-COVID. Seeing you is pre-COVID in person. But I know we always communicate. Brother Wright, so I appreciate you as always. I think the last event we were at was it your church or something? I forgot whose church it was.
Yeah,
It was your church.
Yes, sir. You was a speaker. Yes, sir, for the Men's Day. Yes, sir.
Exactly. So I remember that. So
yes, sir.
So I want to say that I'm always grateful and appreciative of where I am.
Yes, sir.
Sometimes, everyone's different. And, everyone has a calling. Some people may live their entire life and never know what it is. Some people may know what it is later in life. They might be an excellent painter or an architect or a writer. And some people may know it immediately. And some people will work on that. Okay, they can, play soccer, or they can play tennis, or they can, finish, if I'll give an example, finish a puzzle or a Rubik's Cube and very quickly. And it's like, whoa, there's someone is on a different level in that thing. And for me, my thing is, I've always been a fan of the law and of education. My father, was a judge, left the bench. He did many things, law enforcement, insurance on the bench, teaching on the bench, and ultimately opened law practice. So I saw hard work, I saw determination, I saw education being a big influence. And my mother is an educator. My parents are retired. So I saw hard work, dedication, not slacking off, not making excuses, not saying things like the work is hard at school because I had no job. All I had to do was go to tutoring or stay later or study harder. And so, with that mindset, with what God blessed me with and I was born with, on top of cultivating, as I mentioned, cultivating a work ethic, not making excuses for myself, and continuing to be determined with a combination of the love for the law that I had, you know, whether it's watching the T.J. Hooker, Magnum P.I., you know,
Yeah.
Law and Order, Perry Mason,
Right.
you
Right.
know, those are things that, you know, and even, you know, the analogy, you know, watching cartoons with my brother, you know, I'd watch the Ninja Turtles, and the way my mind worked is, you know, the foot soldiers, you know, they were just like the guys on the street, you know, in a criminal enterprise. And then you
Right.
have Bebop or Rocksteady, and they were like, you know, the taking over on the lieutenants. And then you had, you know, Shredder, who was like an underboss, and you had Krang, you know. So I would use those type of analogies to break down a criminal enterprise, and folks would say, well, what, that's just the turtles. But then you have the turtles who are like, you know, they're
Right.
policing and
Yeah.
patrolling the city, and you have the
Right.
Yeah.
police chief who's like Master Splinter. But as a kid, those are things I'm thinking about, right? But everyone's
Right.
just watching the Ninja Turtles. So for me, you know, I'm looking at it from a perspective of it's education and it's the law, and I blended those two, maybe subconsciously or maybe willingly and consciously. The gift from my parents and the blessings from God that gave me, you know, this calling that I carry, and that was my life. I mean, I criminology and psychology in undergrad. I did a pre-law in high school, and that was the era in the '90s where, you know, seeing the crime of the century, you know, the O.J. Simpson trial, the crime of that century, and I watched it. Still have VHS cassettes, you know, of that. And you know, for me, you know, seeing those things unfold live, and those were things that were interesting to me.
Wow.
And continuing that, you know, as you all know, I was, you know, very academic, and you know, finished high school in 3 years at 16. Took a, you know, a little bit of time off, and then went to undergraduate school. Finished that in 3 years, you know, at 20, and then took some time off, and you know, did a few things as far as the Administration for Children's Services, NYPD, auxiliary policing, and then ultimately went to law school. So I never stopped learning every single day. And folks, as you mentioned earlier, I didn't just do this magically. The things I speak about is either firsthand or direct and firsthand, and a combination of being involved, right? So, you know, I did the footwork as a police officer, learning the ins and outs. You know, I did the working as a child protective specialist, learning how, you know, what happens when a child is taken from a parent, for example, if that parent is now in custody. You know, did the court-ordered investigations, did the, you know, reporting back to the judge, you know, did the hearings, went to law school, was a public defender as an intern in the Innocence Project, did the, you know, in the Innocence Project, as you know, one of the Dream Team lawyers, Barry Scheck, and a few others from that trial of the century did that. So the cold case investigation. So these are things, I'm not just making them up or I feel like saying them. These are things I've been embedded with.
Yes, sir.
And they're embedded in my brain because it was real life, you know, worked on motions that, you know, had folks go back into court on a cold case investigation with DNA being recognized as a sign. So seeing that, you know, and being involved actively while in law school in various different organizations, you know, giving a shout out to moot court, mock trial, you know, was on those teams, you know, won the first year moot court competition with my partner, trial partner, Deani Winter, who's a successful lawyer now doing her thing. And, you know, just kind of, you know, seeing how things work, not just from a practical, but not from a theoretical, I should say, but from a practical standpoint.
Yes, sir.
And, you know, we could go on and on. So for me, you know, becoming a lawyer, being always wanted to be a criminal defense attorney from growing up.
Yes, sir.
The best way to learn and the advice that I received from, those in the field, and from my father, who, was a criminal defense attorney after being on the bench, and, just listening to family members, and, just kind of going the path, I became a prosecutor, right? So I was a prosecutor, and, misdemeanors followed by all the felonies that you can think of. Had jury trials, and did that 7, 8 years. And then the defense attorney side, same thing, felonies, serious felonies, and personal injury. And when I first got on the transition from prosecution, I had interviewed about a year prior while still being an assistant district attorney. And about a year later, I got a call and saying, "Hey, do you want to come on in back for the second interview?" I forgot about it, and I was joking about that with a few of my friends who were sworn in with me. And it was August 31st, 2012, when I was first sworn in as a magistrate court judge. By the chief magistrate. So we're in 2012 now.
Yes, sir.
So that's when I first was sworn in as a judge. So I didn't take it lightly, and it was a different approach to the profession that I love and care about, and I'm called to, and I'm always learning and trying to improve. And I was in a unique situation where I was able to continue to practice law, just not in the county. And so on certain levels of court, you can do that. So magistrate court is one of those levels where I wasn't a quote unquote full-time there every day judge, but I still did the full-time judge activities. First appearance, bond hearings, preliminary hearings, right? Extradition hearings, pre-issuance arrest warrants, and then of course the civil matters up to 15,000, and county ordinance violations and dispossessories, which is your landlord-tenant disputes. Okay. So it gave me a unique perspective, and I knew that, the calling was there. This is not me. This God is doing this. I'm not. These are directions that you think you know something, and you don't. And so we fast forward. Life happened. Things happen. Of course, the disappointments happen with trying to attain another level of court. And I ran for an open seat, lost, and the loss was probably one of the best things that happened to me, because you take your bruise and your hits and knockdowns and your kicks to the stomach, and then what determines the next step is if you stay down and you get counted out. If you hold on to the beliefs you have, hold on to your faith, and stay true to your calling. And this is my calling. And people say it and they think I'm just saying it, but just take a look at my life. And you can't deny I'm not doing this by myself. There's people that, obviously, think they know or know something, but they don't. I don't know anything. I go day by day, living in my purpose, and that's all I can do. So the lows are the lows. They're going to be there. For any of your listeners, you're going to get kicked down, knocked down. They're going to say something about you. They're going to skew the narrative and make it fit whatever, because everyone has a different story. All three of us could see the same thing, and all three of us will have a different perspective. And then the person that created the thing will have their perspective, and so on. So everyone's perspective is what it is. My perspective is I stay focused. I do what I need to do on a daily basis. I learn from the losses. I embrace the wins. And I know that this is something that I know I'm called to do, and will continue to do it to the best of my abilities every single day.
All right, there, Judge.
All right, Judge. All right. Now, Judge, now during your judgeship, what are some of the deficiencies that you have encountered concerning our community and its ability to navigate the legal system? Actually,
Yeah.
Well, I just want to go back
hmm
on the last question
okay.
because I don't want to, go back and realize I missed something here
hmm
because you did say it, and I didn't want to be thankful for that as well. So, I didn't want to focus on that, the loss. So it was a comeback. So I said I learned from the loss, and I
hmm
continued to stay the path, stay the course. I could have given up and do nothing, or I could have continued to work hard and improve my craft and continue to be the best and continue to learn what I needed to learn. And I'm grateful and thankful for all those who may have been encouraging and who were helpful and instrumental to me. I want to thank Governor Brian Kemp for the appointment back in 2022, September 26th, just hit the 2-year mark a few weeks ago in this position in state court. All right, so I did want to not leave that out there and continue to do the best every day as I can, and still learning, and still have ways to go to improve because no one is perfect. But to go back to your new question on
hmm
on what I've encountered in the community, can you outline the second part of that?
And its ability to navigate through the legal system, because from time to time, it's a challenge for our community to navigate through the system because we just don't know the system.
Yeah. Well, that's every time.
hmm
So, I used to give this analogy often in court, and I don't give it as much, but when someone comes in for an arraignment, I let them know that, the courtroom is an arena of legal professionals. You go back to, ancient times and you used to, you see or you watch a movie and they talk about the gladiators and they'll train. They don't just come out and this is my first fight today. They'll train before they come out.
Right.
Right.
Lawyers go to law school 3 years. They take a professional responsibility exam. They do a character and fitness background check. They check everything. They do a bar exam, 200 multiple choice, multi-state bar exam, and essays, and maybe some other type of it was called an MPT. Some states may do it. So it's not easy because I'll give you an example. In law school for me, we have 15 weeks, and then there's a final exam. So I'm a little under the weather. I came on tonight because you all have been promoting it, you've been advertising it, and then I will call and say I can't make it. And then you'll have to scramble and figure it out.
Yeah.
Judge Knight said he was going to be here, he's not here. So toughen through it. So in law school, 15 weeks, final exam. You're sick, flat tire. It's snowing. Went to school in Michigan. It's snowed in. You don't go, you fail. You didn't study, you fail. Didn't study correct, you fail. Studied average, you might get a C or a B. The point I'm making is this: 15 weeks crammed into one exam.
Right.
You have to, if you went to your tutor, if you did whatever you did to outline, and then you have to know that, and then you have to perform at a high level on exam day over and over again, whether you're taking 3, 4, 5, 6 classes. And you do that semester in and semester out. There may be some electives, and you sail by, you write a paper or do some different things, and you coast. But for the most part, it's not easy. So, you hear the look to your right, look to your left, and someone won't be there when you graduate, and it's real.
Right.
Started out with a class we were the second largest law school at the time. It was like 538, something like that. And we graduated a little close to 200 of us graduated. And I graduated with a class before my original class, but the numbers aren't for the faint of heart.
Right.
And when folks jump up and say, maybe sometimes, what I see at an event or a social event or family function or whatever it may be, and it's, oh, my cousin can argue, so he can be a lawyer, or she can. It's not that easy,
Right.
And then you see these television shows, and they mockery of the legal profession.
Yeah.
And sometimes, I'll say this to jurors in court. It's not like on television. When you jump up and say objection as a lawyer or as a non-lawyer, there's a legal objection. There's a whole list of them. Lawyers learn that in evidence class. I had a whole year of evidence, one semester followed by the second. So it's not minimized to jumping up and banging on the desk and saying objection. What is the legal objection? And sometimes, you can't just say objection without the legal objection, because the lawyers know what it is. The lawyers know objection, and then you say the legal objection, and then there's a legal response. And so it's not minimized to I can argue or look at me, I presented this really well. It's a skill and it's honed. And, obviously there's a lot that goes into the legal profession. Even after a person becomes a lawyer, they have to do continuing legal education courses. And, it's like the example that I mentioned that I don't give anymore. If I have a leaky faucet, I'm calling a plumber, because if I just look at the YouTube video, I'm missing steps. I got the wrong screw, the wrong caulk, I'm doing the wrong tape. And before you know it, I unscrewed the pipe, and now my whole bathroom is flooded because I think I can do it. This is lawyering, it's not a do-it-yourself project. Leave the lawyering to the professionals. So I think television, movies, and just overall society, maybe social media, maybe just the internet, everyone thinks that they're a professional, but unfortunately, the legal profession is not so simple, because look how easy it can be. If a lawyer doesn't know what they're doing and they're representing someone on a murder trial or armed robbery, as I have, a client is now in prison. If you don't know what you're doing correctly.
Wow, right.
Not that the defense has the burden. I'm just saying there may have been objections or anything. The state has the burden. So when I was a prosecutor, if I'm prosecuting someone and I didn't know how to meet my burden or how to prove the venue of the location where the crime happened or identify the defendant, I can lose the case that simply. So it's really not as simple as people may often think. And I'm not saying no one can do it. I'm encouraging everyone to go to law school and, pursue this great profession. But the minimization is what you asked me, the deficiencies. So that's just my observation. The observation is, it's not as simple as it looks. Oftentimes there's pro se litigants who are, or self-represented, I should say, self-represented litigants who they come to court on a civil matter, and, they may have seen, I don't want to start giving credit to all the shows, but they may have seen a judge show.
Right.
And, Judge, that's how it is. And then they're asking me questions, and I let them know then I become the lawyer. I can't be the judge and the lawyer, and the lawyer for both sides, and I can't do it all. So I can only be the judge at this time. So I would encourage, everyone to just, do your research. It's a great profession, and it's not one that's minimized by just a TV show or a soundbite or a clip. And the last thing I'll say on that is, for some reason, everyone always wants to show me a clip of what some judge did in some place. It's like, hey, judge, look at this. This guy was driving when he was in court for driving on a suspended license. I'm like, okay, that's a Tuesday. You know, I appreciate it, but you know, during COVID, I saw it all. I saw folks
Wow.
doing everything on camera and off camera, or muted or unmuted. So I'm not saying I'm just kind of being lighthearted, but you know, things that, you know, folks may be fascinated with because it's trending on some type of venue, whether it's the news or some other outlet, you know, is a Monday for me.
Yes, sir.
Right.
You know, so you know, I take what I do, you know, with great care, and everyone is different, and you know, just because it may look easy, or because it's a highly critical position, and I mean, everyone has an opinion, obviously. This is how you should do it that way, do it this way, but no one knows. And you know, when I try to explain to folks, if they spend a few moments, maybe an hour, it will be a different perspective from the viewpoint that I have. So I don't take what I do lightly, and you know, the deficiencies come from, as you know, you all know, you see it every day. It's minimized to one sound bite, to one word, to 3 phrases, to 1 photo.
Yeah.
When if I were to show you a puzzle with one of those things, then you would never solve it. So it's a big puzzle. It's not solved by just 1 or 2 pieces.
Right. And that's a good segue, Judge, because since you've been on both sides of the chair, both prosecutor and also defense, what should the community look like? What should we look for? And if we ever unfortunately fall in that arena, looking for legal representation, what should we look for as far as a lawyer? Because like you said, if someone doesn't know what they're doing, you can end up going to jail just on technicality. So what is your advice, or what's your point as far as when someone is in that arena, unfortunately, again, looking for legal representation? What does it look like in your eyes, Judge?
That's a great question. So let me just make sure that your viewers are fully informed. So in state court, there are criminal matters.
Yes, sir.
And here I know you have worldwide viewers. So I know, for example, there's some states that the district attorney does misdemeanors and felonies.
Okay.
In Georgia, the district attorney does felonies exclusively, but obviously if there are misdemeanors attached, it will be with the district attorney, who's the prosecutor. Okay. And that would be in Superior Court. And there's civil matters in Superior Court as well. Okay. However, in state court where I am, there are misdemeanor offenses. Okay. And the state is not the district attorney, it's the solicitor general. So I was a solicitor general, then a district attorney when I was a prosecutor. So that would be considered the state. So most of your viewers who are not in Georgia may have never heard about a solicitor general, because all they know is the district attorney. Okay. But it's all the prosecutor, and that's the overwide term is the state. Okay. So the defense attorney has zero burden. They don't have to do anything. They can rock in their chair. They can look at their computer, their phone, or write notes. They don't have a burden of proof. The state has the burden to show beyond a reasonable doubt that the person charged, who's the defendant, committed the offense. State presents witnesses. The defense can cross-examine. The state has the burden. Okay. So that's your quick 101. Okay. On criminal law in state court. So I don't want your viewers to also think that it's only criminal law, because I alluded to self-represented litigants, and that is civil matters. We have matters like wrongful death, dog bite cases, medical malpractice, your personal injury, which can range from your trucking, car accidents. You have your slip and fall, your premises liability, certain dispossessory, which is landlord and tenant appeals, may come from magistrate courts or state court. Okay. There's other matters like contract disputes, garnishments. There's a host of civil matters. So when people think court, they automatically think criminal, but I don't want to leave that out there that it's more than just criminal. You know, on any given day, the calendars range. So it's criminal and civil. So not only was I on both sides as a prosecutor, then as a defense attorney, but I was on both sides as a plaintiff's lawyer in civil matters and a defense attorney for civil matters. And as I mentioned, magistrate court experience. So 4 corners covered. So to go to your question, I don't want to misguide anyone and also give misinformation. Just like everything else, it'll be up to the individual. It's research, it's whatever referral source, it's contacting the State Bar of Georgia. Back in the day, before I was a judge, you all know you can call me, but you can't call me anymore.
Right.
I look for the best. However you look for the best, how you guys found me?
Oh boy,
find the best lawyer.
Gotcha. Prayer and supplication.
I know, right?
Prayer and supplication. Yeah, I got. Okay.
Now, Judge, you know, with the recent copycat threats dealing with schools, okay, what should parents be aware of concerning the legal ramifications?
In what regard?
Well, like with some of the schools, with some of the threats, with children making threats, it now has become that falls back upon the parents legally on those certain threats or certain things carried out. So what kind of ramifications should the parents be looking for in really dealing with their children in situations like this?
Well, the first thing I would say is, just condolences to the families of everyone affected. It's not an easy topic. Right. And, as a state court judge, that's a question that I can't answer. I can't make comments on, impending or pending matters.
Right.
And I can't predict the future. I can only handle matters that are before me. And I just want to also add for your viewers, as it relates to, just taking us back to social studies or American history. There's 3 branches of government.
Right.
Executive, the legislative, and the judicial.
Right.
And there's checks and balances, and each branch should have the ability and does have the ability to check and balance the other. And the legislative branch makes the laws, and I'm not part of the legislative branch. Gotcha. So unfortunately, I can't really respond to that because it's not my area of how I can respond. But tragedies are happening everywhere, and I recall in the early days of the internet in the 1990s, just kind of learning of school shootings and being a student at the time, and it was scary. And so I can only imagine, I have school-age children, so I can only imagine the scary world that they live in, because I was scared as a student back in, the trench coat mafia era. I believe it was 95 or 96. I can't remember the exact year, but I was in school, and it was a scary time. And there weren't active shooter drills or these different things that have arose now, but just learning to be safe and learning as a whole, just in society, is important, because crime unfortunately can happen anywhere. So, but it's definitely a topic that I'm sure you all will explore with other guests. But that will be my sentiments at this time.
Gotcha. And
Gotcha.
Judge, on that note, Judge, as far as dealing with those dynamics, and going back to the beginning of the show when you mentioned as far as the program that you did with the interacting with law enforcement, there's a lot of misconceptions and
Mhm.
perceptions on the community and dealing with law enforcement and the legal system. Uh, Due to the music, the movies like you referenced as far as people looking at judge shows, da da da. Well, my question to you, Judge, is how do you see the courts, especially like with you sitting on the bench, being instrumental in changing that perception among the community so that we can get a better interaction with that, and also people have more openness to deal in those legalities when we're having to deal with writing legislation and, as people saying, changing the culture. But being on that bench now and having that kind of pull behind you, what do you see that you could do, or what do you see the courts can do to change that dynamic among the community in the perception of law enforcement and the judicial system?
All right, so that's a very there are about three questions in there in
Yeah.
terms of, because if I answer the question, then it just sounds like I'm answering the whole thing. So let's go part by part.
Okay, sir.
Again, it's going back to interpretation.
Mhm.
Everyone has a different viewpoint. You may see things that's the one question for you. This is how I see the question.
Mm.
The first part is everyone should remain in their lane.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Gotcha.
So I can't, as I mentioned, be a legislator. I don't have a proposed bill. Remember conjunction junction?
Yeah. What's your
The
function?
bill is like dancing around and it's on the stairs and it's yeah.
Right. Right.
I
Right.
can't, I don't, I'm not in the legislative branch. So I'll leave the, the bill writing and, lobbying and all those things for that branch. So I'm just going to leave that part of the question out
Okay.
because that's the legislative branch. As far as the perception of, law enforcement, as law enforcement may be viewed, I mean, how far back are we talking? We're talking my lifetime,
Mm.
or we're talking me
Mhm.
reviewing history,
Mm.
or are we talking, what are we talking about? Because, as I mentioned to you, I've been a student of the law and criminal law for a long time.
Yes, sir.
So, I can go very far back, but that would be for a different show.
Mm.
You all will have me back and we'll talk about my academic side at the
Definitely.
appropriate time.
Definitely.
So I'm just going to limit it to present day. This is what I'm doing and have been doing for a long time, since 2012. And the times I was honored and grateful and, blessed to be where I am and still be where I am. I have this conversation often with people who are in court. And again, we're just going back to the criminal side because usually on a civil matter, there's no law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
So unless there was some type of, it's rarely law enforcement. So maybe from an individual who was charged is that it's all one big team.
Mm.
Folks will say whether it's on a plea or an arraignment or even after a sentence and it's a probation revocation or probation hearing
Mm.
calendar. Y'all did this, I'll do what y'all want. And I'll hear the y'all term, or you all, or something to that effect, or you. They'll single me out, I'll do what you want me to do, or I'll do
Mm.
what y'all want me to do. And
Gotcha.
there, from my perspective, there's only one judge, right? There's no y'all, there's no
Mhm.
you all,
Right.
there's no team, there's no group.
Right.
That's it. So I'll go back and I'll give them just a brief introduction to the criminal justice system.
Okay.
Is this the police, the law enforcement officer that encounters the citizen, pull over, house, on the street walking, at an event, however the encounter happens, citizen, law enforcement. Then there's the next step, citation or arrest. It's law enforcement. That's the policing phase, phase one.
Okay.
Person goes to the jail, they're booked in, photograph, biometrics, here are the charges, whatever it may be. Then they go see if they don't bond out, if it's not an offense, they could bond out right away. Then they'll appear before a magistrate court judge. That's what I was before. Magistrate court judge will have a first appearance. All right. So you're in the court system now.
Yes.
Phase two. Matter gets bound over, meaning sent to state court because they're misdemeanors exclusively or traffic. Person shows up. It's arraignment. It's the first time they're seeing me. They've never seen me. I wasn't at the pullover. I wasn't at wherever the arrest happened. Excuse me. All right, excuse me. I'm not the sergeant, corporal, the police captain, the chief. I wasn't at the briefing. I wasn't at the roll call. I wasn't there at the roadblock. I have no clue what that police officer did because I wasn't there. I wasn't involved in any of that. That's the police chief. That's the whatever agency's chief, city, county, or whatever agency was involved. That's policing. So the misconception of y'all, I don't tell the police what to do unless the police, when I was a magistrate court judge, came and swore out a warrant for someone's arrest. And they say, these are the things that may meet this crime or these crimes. And we're seeking an arrest warrant or a search warrant. So I haven't done that since magistrate court. So the police is not the court. The police is not the judge. Once the person is here and they go through the arraignment and they plead not guilty and they go forward and they may have motions to suppress, motions to reveal the deal, whatever they may have.
Yes, sir.
Then they'll go to a calendar call and they'll plead, still, say they're ready for trial because they've entered a not guilty plea. Then they get to trial phase. And then the state has the burden, as I mentioned, to prove their guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. And if they're convicted, then the court, which is the judge, gets the sentencing, right? But during the trial and the different phases, there's rulings to be made on whether it's objections, as I mentioned earlier, or motions or different things throughout the course. And then if the person is convicted, and if they may appeal to the Court of Appeals or the Supreme Court of Georgia, then what will happen is that will be the appellate courts. That's out of state courts. So after the trial, they're convicted, and if there's a sentencing, that's it. There's phases of sentencing, right? So in terms of, or goals, I should say, not phases, but goals of sentencing, right? It's retribution, restitution, specific or general deterrence, right? Deterrence is there, right? Rehabilitation, incapacitation. So that's for a whole different thing. So what's the goal? What is the goal of the sentencing? Are we making a victim whole again? Are we, sending a message, and by we, I'm saying, the court, as in the judge.
Right.
So
Okay.
then, if the person is indeed sentenced, then there is the corrections phase, which is the third phase of the criminal justice system. Probation, jail, whatever it may be. And so when someone says we or y'all or you, and they lump everyone together,
Right.
I'm only the judge. I'm only in really just the one phase, and sometimes I may be back in, and by the one phase I mean phase 2. And by sometimes the person may come back out of phase 3, which is the corrections phase, and I'll see them again. Let's say they don't do their community service or whatever. So, you know, and again, you know, people go to school and learn this. This is I teach a whole semester of criminal justice intro. And I just mentioned something in a few minutes that we'll go through for the weeks.
Right.
So when the misconception comes in and the misconception is added, then it can be fair to say that, you know, folks may not know, but again, how can you know? That's like me wanting to fix my leaky faucet. I don't know. I never went to one class. I watched 5 YouTube videos. I'm the expert.
Right.
It's a do-it-yourself weekend. I'm going to, you know, I'm not naming the stores, but you know the ones, to get all the equipment.
Right.
It doesn't work that way.
Right.
And then when folks, you know, have that perception, unfortunately, that's what happens. So, you know, there's not a whole lot that I can do other than meet people where they are and explain to them, well, hey, look, when the arrest happened, I was not there.
Right.
When all these things happened that I outlined, I wasn't there. The first time that I know anything about you, the person before me, John Citizen or James Citizen, is when I saw the calendar yesterday or this morning. And I called your name and you stood up and you said, here I am.
Right.
And then we go from there.
Okay. Now, Judge, I do have one sidebar question for you, Judge. And then I know our time is up, Judge, but I got to ask Judge one question.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Judge, since this is a kind of a, how can I put this? Personalized question. Because of all things that you've seen come across the bench, things you've seen throughout your history with the judicial system and all those things, how does a person and how do you keep everything, for lack of a better word, sanitized and, you know, keep everything above board where you're not biased one way or the other? How do you segment that? How do you make sure that you're keeping yourself in a position that as a judge, you are disseminating judgment without being biased and all those things? So what are the safety guards you have as just a man that you put around yourself to ensure that your dissemination of judgment is not skewed one way or the other, and that you can make sure that you stay within the confinements of the law itself as your profession, sir?
All right. So, Brother Wright, there's no judgment on my end. I'm fair and impartial. I'm neutral.
Right.
So the state has the burden in a criminal case, as I mentioned.
Okay.
They either meet their burden or they don't.
Gotcha.
If they meet the burden and the person is found guilty,
yes, sir,
then evidence, you know, or testimony or whatever it may be will be given in aggravation, and things will be given in mitigation, and then I give a sentence that the law allows. I'm out of it. Don't put me in it.
Gotcha.
So there's no judgment.
Gotcha, sir.
In a civil matter, same thing. I have no involvement. So I'm the referee, or I'm the umpire. I'm at the game.
Okay.
But I'm not in the game.
Gotcha, sir. Okay.
Gotcha.
So I'm ensuring the rules are followed.
Gotcha.
I'm ensuring that the law is followed and the proper law is given. And for me, it's pretty straightforward. It happens all the time. You know, folks want me to be an active participant. I did that already when I was a lawyer. The judge isn't involved on either side. The judge is fair and impartial and neutral. So for me, I just read the rules. I read it already. I read it years and years and years ago. I had to read it again and every day as much as I can and have it stuck in my brain. In 2012, we had a whole test on it.
Yes, sir.
You know, I read it from time to time to remind myself because, you know, obviously the only person that have to know the rules would be me. And as with everything else, you know, there's instances where folks would like to, you know, not follow the rules or go around them. But no one is going to say that this person didn't follow the rules. Everyone's going to say what Judge Knights didn't do or did do. So that's the answer to your question.
Gotcha, sir.
So I have to do, you know, and it may not be popular because following the rules may not always be popular. But if I don't follow it, then you wouldn't have me on your show.
Right.
You wouldn't have been following my career for a decade plus. You wouldn't have been inquiring of me how I'm doing the things I'm doing because I wouldn't be here.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So for me, and as I mentioned, it's a blessing, it's a calling. And so when folks do the opposite, which is practice the TV law,
yeah,
you know, practice the movies law,
right,
or want to do the courtroom scene from something they've seen on a screen. And then the reality is I'm doing it the way that, not that I made up, but that's what's in the books that were written before me. That's what's in the law that I have to follow. And oftentimes folks think I'm making it up. Oh, it's your rules, it's your law, it's your, no, I came into this. I was born into this.
Right.
You know, I embrace this. Some people just see it. I was born into it.
Bingo.
This was here before me. Courtroom to courtroom was here before me. The rules of how things go were before me. A lot of the cases that are still followed were before me. All these things were before me. So all I do is I'm just a student of the profession. I'm a student of the craft.
Yes.
And I practice every day.
Wow. That sums it up right there for me, Doc. And together right there.
I would say this though, Judge Knights, you the only judge I know that you are in the community always. And you are lending a helping hand in the community wherever you can help. And brother, that is a compliment to you. And I thank you so much for being a part of the community in which you are in which you are judging, that you will lend a helping hand wherever you can.
Yes, sir. I appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all. And you know, and thank you very much. Again, it's not, you know, it's not easy. It's not easy, you know, giving free knowledge to a room of 4 or 5 people, and then a tragedy happens, and then the room has 100 people because it's a popular thing to do.
Wow.
It's not easy, and these are things that I've done. Again, we're going back to the history. You know, as they say, pull the videotape. Some people will say, "Well, what is he talking about?" Pull the videotape. All of these are verifiable facts where, you know, when I put a foot forward to help because I have kids, because I also have to go outside, I have a family. I have, an
Mhm.
interest in the next generation.
Mhm.
What am I supposed to do? Sit back and just watch it happen? When I give a little bit of knowledge, a 1 hour class on the Fourth Amendment, Fifth and Sixth Amendment, and just
Mhm.
basic pointers,
Mm.
and no one cares until, unfortunately, something bad happens.
Right. Right.
And then I do it again. No one cares until, and then it becomes popular. And then, here we are, fast forward, still addressing the same issues.
Mhm.
And for me, I did something about it. And as I mentioned, the academic side, with my PhD in criminal justice, I didn't just talk the talk. I actually continued to learn and walk the walk. And so for me, when people want to, they can say whatever they want to say, but my work ethic and what I've done and continue to do, if it hasn't, talked for itself, it
Mhm.
should speak for itself. It will continue to speak for itself, and folks will one day realize uh, what has been happening all along.
Well, it does, Doc. Trust on that one. It does, Doc Stevens. It
Yes,
does.
sir.
It
It
does, bro.
does. It does. It does.
And man, I hope you feel better too, Judge. I really do,
Yeah,
sir.
Thank y'all.
Judge.
Yeah,
Yeah,
been
Judge.
blustering
Hope you
through it,
feel
but
better.
that's a testament. Never give
Mhm.
up. Stay focused. Stay on top of your dreams.
Right.
Continue to do the things that you would desire to do, and you're
Mhm.
called, blessed, and chosen to do. I'm grateful every day. I'm thankful every day. God has put me here for a reason, and I'm going to continue to live my path, follow the law in court, continue to be, fair and impartial and understanding as I can in every situation. And I continue to do my part to make this world a better place as best as I can in many ways, on and off the bench. So, gentlemen, I want to thank y'all. You all's friendship means a lot to me in times when, folks may be fair weather or, may or may not be there. You all have been there for the joys and the sorrows, as you mentioned, the ups and downs, the before and the afters and the after that. So it's not unnoticed. I remember, Brother Jay, excuse me, we did a couple of sit downs,
Mm-hmm.
and in fact, I'm still waiting on the compilation of some of those interviews, but
Yes, sir.
at
Yes,
some
sir.
point, maybe,
Yes, sir.
we can sit down. But we did some sit downs, and I remember, just some of the conversations, and it's important for your viewers to remember, right? This wasn't just a conversation about me and what I do. This is a conversation about, just interactions with people who are always inspiring. These gentlemen do their respective work in the communities. I remember doing things, not just speaking with them on their various outlets, which seem to be growing every time we speak, all their outlets as far as media, but so I appreciate y'all. But also just the work uplifting. I was at a football camp. Excuse me. I forget the gentleman
Danny Bugs.
who's, I'm sorry,
Danny Bugs.
Danny Bugs,
Yeah.
a legend. I remember that. I remember as I mentioned earlier, the Men's Day program and various other things. So that these aren't gimmicks, and folks may easily be distracted by one thing. They may hear one thing and they run with it. And that's our lives, I hear things that aren't true every day. And, or folks may take one thing out of 5,000 and that becomes the narrative. So don't fall for the gimmicks.
Yeah.
Don't fall for the fair weather friends. Don't fall for the folks who may just want to be there when the sun is out and not when it's raining. Stay focused, Continue to follow your dreams. Nothing's going to be as easy as you may think it is. But guess what? You can do it. Look at me and look at these gentlemen. And gentlemen, I want to thank y'all once again. I appreciate you all very much.
We appreciate you, Judge.
Appreciate you, Judge, man. Thank you so much, brother.
Right, thank y'all.
You, brother. Yeah. Wow. Judge Nice, man.
The one and only, man.
The one and only Judge.
The one and only, man. Thank God for he could carve out some time, man.
Yes.
I like how you think, man. Just heard them questions, man. He starts that's 3 and 1.
Wait a minute now. Hold up. Ask that again.
I know, right? That man,
that man came from, that man was. It was almost like he was sitting on the bench right then,
He was.
Yes, sir. Like,
he was listening.
My bad, Judge. Let me redirect that.
Yeah, that's 3 and 1, boy. Let me drag you back. Come here.
Come on back.
Yeah, man. So that's when you know somebody's always on their game, man.
Yes, sir. And Judge is always on his game, man.
Always on his game, man.
Always on his game, man.
That's a blessing, man. So thank God for that, bro. Yeah.
Thank God for that. Uncommon sense conversation. We had a common sense conversation.
Yes, we did. Yeah, we did. Finally.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
Nothing about the election.
No, let's not mess it up, Jay. No.
No, we're not gonna do that. We're not gonna do that. We about to hit.
Yeah, no, hit the new button. Nothing. Don't mess it up. Jesus Christ. All right.
Tune in every Tuesday at since-you-asked.com and also kbcntv.com, YouTube, Facebook, everywhere you can get us. You can get us right here on Uncommon Sense. Until next week, we'll see you.
All right.
All righty.